ग्लोबल स्किल डेवलपमेंट मिशन में आपका स्वागत है।
All right, next, let's have a conversation about getting started in your career as a graphic designer. I've got a bunch of things that I want to share with you. This section of the course very well could be the most valuable for you as well. So let's dig into this. The first thing that I want to address is getting a job as a graphic designer versus going freelance. So in other words, should you apply for a job as a graphic designer or should you strike out on your own? Well, you know, this is really largely a personal question, which has a lot to do with your own personality. For instance, do you want the security of a job and are you okay with having a boss and basically being told what to do? Do you like the whole 9-to-5 lifestyle? Is that for you? Or do you prefer setting your own schedule, going at it alone, and also being 100% responsible for your own successes, but at the same time your own failures? This is really up to you to decide. Some people kind of enjoy the best of both worlds. They'll wind up with a part-time graphic design job, and then they'll do freelance work on the side, or even a full-time graphic design job with freelance work on the side as well. It is entirely up to you, and I certainly don't want to sway you one way or another. I made my own choice, my personal choice, which was going 100% freelance myself, but that's only because I have a really hard time with bosses and time schedules and things like that. I'm really much more all about creating my own schedule. But again, that's me, and I know that that doesn't apply for everyone. All right, so I hope this is getting the wheels turning. Do some brainstorming, think about it, and really kind of even out on paper, list it out on paper, and really figure things out for yourself. That's what I would encourage you to do. Now, next, do you need to go to design school? Do you need a degree in graphic design? Well, you know what? I'm going to try and be as pragmatic about this for you as possible, because I get this question a lot. Bottom line is, it's going to cost you some time. It'll cost you 2 years or 3 years or maybe even 4 years of your time. 4 years is a long time. The other thing too is it's going to cost you money, anywhere between maybe $10,000, $15,000 up to $25,000 a year. So you can do some simple multiplication to figure out how much this degree is going to cost you. Now, again, this is really more of a personal choice, and it depends on which direction you want to go in. If you decide to go the job route, then they'll likely want you to have some kind of certification, some kind of a degree under your belt, unless you have sufficient experience. What's sufficient experience? Well, that's kind of a tough question to answer. Anywhere between 2 years and 5 years of real-world graphic design experience. Okay, so what you may want to do is take courses similar to this course for the next little while, build up your skills, and then start doing some freelancing for 1 or 2 years, and then start looking for a full-time job. Okay, you could certainly do that. Now, if you want to go the freelance route, quite honestly, and I speak from experience, clients really don't care about your degree or if you have any sort of certification. They may ask you out of curiosity, or perhaps to make small talk, where did you go to school, how long have you been doing this sort of thing. But truthfully, they really care about the results that you're able to achieve, where the rubber meets the road. Okay? All right, now, the other thing that I want to bring up as well is how you can differentiate yourself in the marketplace. We started to touch on this in the previous exercise. What I really want to strongly recommend or suggest that you do is to stand out and be unique among other designers. Let's say, for instance, you're applying for a job. Well, there could be 10 or 15 or 20 other designers vying for the same position. How are you going to stand out among all those other designers? Or if you've gone the freelance route, how are you going to make yourself unique in the marketplace? So, for instance, perhaps a client is looking for a particular project to be completed. He sends a request to yourself and perhaps 20 other designers. How are you going to stand out? Well, you really need to be unique in some way. And what I recommend that you do is learn some specialties. You probably already have an idea of which direction you'd like to go in the field of graphic design. If logo design, for example, appeals to you, start specializing in it. Or perhaps branding, you could start specializing in that. Or mobile design, or interactive design, or I threw in there interface design as well. Or perhaps 2 or 3 of these areas. If you become known as the designer who creates really great logos and creates really awesome interfaces, then those are the sorts of projects that are going to wind up finding you. You won't have to work so hard to find them. In other words, you'll get a reputation as being the logo person or the person to go to for mobile design. I think you get the point that I'm making here. The other thing that I want to stress, I stressed this in the previous exercise as well, set yourself head and shoulders above other designers by learning how to hand code HTML and CSS. Even on a fundamental level, if you can look at HTML, a screen full of HTML code and understand what's happening, or a screen full of CSS and go, oh, right, okay, the background on that object is red with a drop shadow, and I can see that this is happening down in the bottom left corner, things like that, that's really going to give you a huge leg up. I really can't stress this enough. And I talked about it in the previous exercise. As I say, it's not rocket science, of course. The other thing that I want to stress that you do to differentiate yourself is to learn to work with back-end developers, programmers, okay? And how can you learn to work well with programmers and developers? Learn how to build websites. Learn HTML and CSS. Learn about web servers and FTP and things like this, okay? The other thing that I want to suggest that you do is learn how to manage a project from a rough idea on the back of an envelope or on a restaurant napkin all the way through to the final fully functioning project, all the way through to completion. So that's how you can help to differentiate yourself as well. All right, so there we go. There's lots of ideas in this exercise, lots for you to ponder, a little bit of soul searching in there for you as well. I hope this has been valuable for you. Now, let's continue. I have more for you to ponder, and I want to talk about getting started and how you can start to land work as a graphic designer.